Hi everybody, welcome back. I've had an exciting idea. My husband is from Yorkshire in England, and Yorkshire, the symbol for Yorkshire is the Yorkshire rose, and it's just this really beautiful, elegant rose shape. So I've wanted for ages to try and put the Yorkshire rose into some fluid art, and I've now just worked out how. I'm going to do a really neutral white swipe. The rose itself is white, so I'm going to do a neutral white swipe, white, silver and a little tiny bit of pearl black. Let that dry, and then I'm going to embellish it and paint over the top the shape of the flower, and there's a bright blue background to it, so I will paint that on afterwards. So I finally got my idea, so let's get started. I'm using a 40cm canvas for this pour, so 3 colours. I've got Montmartre white, Montmartre silver, and some pearl black, and I can never remember who makes that. De La Rowney Graduate Acrylic Pearl Black. So let me show you the consistency. My paints are mixed with PVA glue and water pouring medium, and then I've mixed it 3 to 2, so 3 parts pouring medium, 2 parts paint. So you can see it's quite nice and runny, it's smooth, it just flows beautifully. I don't want it to be too thick because I want it to dry with a really glossy, smooth finish. And if you have your paint slightly thinner, that's what happens. So I've done so many pours where they've been really thick and they've left lots of ridges on the canvas afterwards. So that silver just feels slightly thick. So if you just give them a final mix before you pour them on the canvas, just to check the consistency, because if you leave them standing, especially when it's warm, they will just thicken up a little bit. So, and it always tends to be the iridescence that will thicken up. All the paints have got this in, OGX Coconut Milk Hair Serum. You can't even read the bottle now, it's got too painty, but that's what the bottle looks like if you're wanting to get something similar. Just bought it on Amazon, but I presume you can get it in any chemist or anywhere that sells hair products. So I want this to be really pale, really white, really neutral, with just a few hints of the silver and the black. The flower will be in the centre, but I want the canvas to be smooth. So I'm going to do this over the entire canvas so that it's all one level, so it's really nice and smooth. So I am just going to enjoy this and just drizzle the paint on. I could pour it straight from the cup, but I quite like doing it like this because it means I can get some much smaller little cells and less clumps of colour. Right, I think that's probably enough paint now, but as you can see there's lots of gaps, so I'm now just going to dab the entire canvas just to get every single little spot of bare canvas covered, and that will just help to smooth out the paint and help it to level a little bit more. So I think the swipe will be more successful when I do that in a minute. So I've finished all my dabbing, so the entire canvas now has paint on it. I've got a big piece of roll here, paper roll, that I'm going to swipe with. I want to try and just do one big swipe instead of lots of little swipes, because I don't want the swipe to be distracting for after I've embellished this. So I've just got a little water spray here, and I'm just spraying that edge of the paper. If it's a little bit damp, it's just a bit heavier, so it sits better on the paint, and it also connects with the paint better. It sticks to it better. So as I swipe, there's less risk of getting any bubbles, any air bubbles. It's more likely to be able to glide nicely over, although my little pump's not working. There we go. Right. So it's not soaking, but it is wet along that edge now. So if I just move everything out my way, so I don't knock things over as I'm swiping. So I'm just going to touch the edge of this tissue, if I can, on the edge of my painting. And just hope that it all sits on there okay. Yep, and then I'm just going to, oh, it's taken off quite a bit of paint there. Just going to swipe. So it took off quite a bit of paint at the edge, but really that doesn't matter because I am going to be embellishing this. If I wanted this as just the painting as it is, this would be a shame because I've just taken off all that paint there. Right, some cells have already started popping up. So I'm now going to torch it and let's just, yeah, see what happens. See how this would look. It's working. This is so pretty. It's working really well. Wow, this is beautiful. So it's really a really pale base. It's really, the majority of it is white, but you can see I've just got that bit of variation. You can still see the lines, but I think as the cells develop, you will see less of that. You will just see the cells. Oh, I'm really happy with this. This is going to be perfect for what I'm wanting. I don't want the gaps though. So there are a few gaps where there aren't as many cells. So if after a couple of minutes, those gaps haven't closed up as the cells have expanded, I will come back and torch again. But I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes just to let the cells do their thing, just to let them expand, see what happens. This is absolutely perfect. It's white, but it's got some variation. So reasonably subtle, maybe slightly dark for this type of embellishment. I don't know, but I don't want just white. It's fluid art. It needs to be interesting. It needs to be fun. Really, really pretty. Really inspired by this colour scheme of, without any colours in it, white, silver and black. It's really pretty. I wonder what this would look like if I just added one accent colour. So white, silver, black and, I don't know, a pink or a green, or really not sure, but I think it could look beautiful. Oh, look, and you see that all the little dimples there from the silicone. You can see where all the little cells are. The silicone doesn't bother me in the slightest because when it's dry, I would just simply clean it with a wet wipe and then paint over the top. So the silicone is not a problem in this painting. Right, I'll be back when it's dry. I'm now ready for part 2 of this pour. I found the image of the Yorkshire Rose online and I've printed it out. I only have an A4 printer, excuse me. So I've actually printed out 3 bits and I've stuck them together. So it's a bit strange, but it gives me the whole shape and I've been able to print it out to the size that I want. So I covered my whole canvas in frog tape all the way along. I cut this out. I put this on in exactly the right position. I've drawn around with a pen around the edge of the rose. And then with a craft knife, I've very carefully cut the tape and peeled off the edges. So the bit that I want the frog tape to protect is the rose itself. That is going to be untouched now. And I'm going to pour the edges. The other thing that I've done is just smeared a little bit of white tape around the edges and sort of pushed it in where the tape is. Because acrylic paint is waterproof, what I'm hoping is now when I put my paints on, they're not going to bleed underneath this tape. I'm hoping I've put enough on to seal it because I don't want any paint at all to go underneath this, this tape. Otherwise it will just totally ruin it. I've just seen a spot here actually where the paint looks really thin, so I'm just going to put a tiny extra little bit on. I'm sure it is there because I'm sure I did all of it, but I'm just sort of, can you see, I'm just wiping it, kind of wiping it inwards, so I know that it's totally filled that ridge. So the paints I'm going to use now, they're Dutch pour consistency paints. So they're mixed with floetrol and water, and so they are runnier. I'm going to try and not put too much on, and certainly not too much around here, because again, I think that will help to reduce it going underneath. I'm going to do, I think I'm probably going to do sort of lines of the paints, and then I'm going to blow it out with the hairdryer. So I've got a few different blues. So the main blue I'm using is this one, which is Amsterdam cyan blue. Amsterdam cyan blue. I've also got, what's this one? Amsterdam phthalo blue, a little bit of that, a little bit of sky blue light, and a little bit of King's blue. So actually they're all Amsterdam colours. So let's see what happens. So the main colour I want is the cyan blue. So I'm going to just drizzle some on. So I'm simply just going to use the hairdryer to blow from the middle outwards. So really happy with the sort of the subtlety of it, the real blend of blues. There are some really pretty effects, so some really pretty cells. It's quite varied. I think what will happen though, as it dries, it will go a bit darker, and I think that will help it to blend a little bit more. So yeah, I didn't want it plain. Maybe it's slightly too varied, but I don't think so. I think it'd be boring if it's too varied, if it's too plain. So yeah, so far so good, quite happy. So I'll be back when it's dry. It's now dry and I'm over the moon with the result. Absolutely love it. I think it's worked out better than I was expecting. So really obvious white of the flower, but the detail is there. And then loving the blue. You can see around the edge of the flower, I've just gone in with some more dark blue paint just to sort of make it look like it's got some depth to it so that the flower's sticking out on top. And I think that works. So if you look up close, it's just I've just shaded it in slightly darker around the flower. So there are 3 different greens in the Yorkshire Rose flag. So a dark green, a lighter green. This green here, I've made slightly brighter, I think, than the actual flag because I just needed brightening up very slightly. The same with the yellow. I think the yellow I've gone with is just slightly brighter as well. So I've made it my own slightly. Just used a gold a Sharpie just to go around the edges, give all the detail. And I went over it a good couple of times. I made the Sharpie line around the big petals thicker than the thinner and then the middle petals. So just added lots of detail. So really happy. I just love how bright and vibrant it is. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of it. Please do hit the thumbs up button. Please do subscribe to my channel. Great. Take care, everyone. Bye.